So then this fall, this spring, this family had someone come out and test and test and test until they finally found something called alpha methyl styrene. It is not a chemical that we use or any of the companies that are in that area use for fracking. Now, where does that come from? I don't know. But that's the status of that. Now, you asked about disclosing. Yes, we do. The Oil and Gas Association in Arkansas now requires each company, and this is something that should be here as well, each company that fracks wells, okay, that's the contractor, not the operator. Whether it's Schlumberger or CalFrac or Cut or whoever it is, they post with the site or with the agency all of the possible chemicals. Possible. If you go in there and look at that, you'll see a list of 30 or 40. Doesn't mean that they're all used all. That's all the possibles.
Probably sounds like a pack of cigarettes, doesn't it?
Huh?
She's had her hand up for quite a while here.
So,
I'd like to hear from her.
anyway, yes, ma'am.
I'm just, since you're here, I'm just interested in what I've been seeing in the news about the 2 lawsuits that were filed against you in the States. And I was just wondering if you had a comment on that.
Well, I just explained one. The Tuckers. They complained about, let me briefly review it with you.
Oh, I heard what you said to her. I did hear what you said to her.
Okay, that's the one. So, none of our testing, and Southwestern didn't test the water. We had and paid for the testing of the water by an independent lab. Have found nothing in there that would come from our drilling or completion operations. They came up with some chemical that people don't use to frack with. So the question is, where did it come from? Certainly we didn't put it there. The other lawsuit that you're talking about the water well that turned gas?
Can I address that first one? Are we able to gain access to a list of what you use in your chemicals?
Yes. As a matter of fact,
My beef is gas companies pop up, people's waters go bad, there's unknown chemical in the water, and it's happening all over the place, but it's not them. But everywhere they go, the chemicals appear.
Yeah.
It's just a mysterious trail on the chemical that they didn't plant there, just follow them wherever they install. That seems a bit fishy to me.
But you did say you didn't have a problem, but the people who are left with more work have a problem with their water.
Before I answer another question, I'm a guest here and I don't want to take over this meeting, okay?
Well, obviously you are.
And I'll be glad to answer any questions, but
I'd like to hear from this gentleman here. He's anxious to speak.
Is it okay? You got a second?
Yeah.
You got a second, please?
Yeah, I feel you have something important.
Go ahead.
Quick question. About the shale that is in New Brunswick, do we know, are there different types of shale? Like I've heard the term black shale before, and I know that's in the Marcellus deposit, a lot of black shale, and that it contains barium. So when it's actually fracked, the barium is released as well, which is not maybe an additive, but it is within the rock itself. It is released, and that's a really carcinogenic and toxic chemical.
It's also a drilling mud.
It is in the drilling mud as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just wondering, what do we know about New Brunswick shale? Do you know? Can they tell that from
That's a
the
good
size
question.
of the
I
testing,
don't
what
know
type of
about
shale
different
it is,
types
or?
of shale, but it's important to know that the drilling process and the return of drill cuttings and muds and also of produced water and frac fluid will contain elements that are indigenous to the geology that you're working in. So it might not be a fracking chemical that shows up in a system, but maybe it's something that's inherent to the geology that is mobilized by the process, by the activity. Right.
Is there a way to tell before the hole is drilled what type of shale it is?
Well,
the size of it?
I don't know, and I'm not going to be doing any monitoring. Potentially that's something that the regulators would know. It's certainly something that the industry should know. As they're drilling a well, and I can't speak to what they would monitor coming back in the drilling muds or the produced water.
I think everybody's focusing on what the companies are going to do to the land. We have to remember it's not all of it. What we allow them to do is that they're governing themselves, whatever we're governing them.
Yeah.
But it's a disturbance of the natural system of our land. Like when you're talking about the methane coming up through, that methane's there. Yeah. It's just being released. So it's not so much about the list of chemicals that they're using as part of it.
As part of it, yeah.
But part of it is this disturbance
That's
of our
why
natural
I want always
yeah.
people to remember from A to
A to
Z,
Z,
the whole
the whole
process, and what can happen through the whole process, not just that specific definition of the industry definition of fracking.
Yeah.
But the land is not meant to be injected with a huge amount of water and chemical. Like we're not supposed to inject that.
There's a lady back here has her hand out for a long time.
Does anybody know how much they are finding? Is it becoming that they're like, oh, bonanza, there's tons of gas under there? Does anyone know yet?
There's the Marcellus gas formation is supposed to be the Saudi Arabia of natural gas.
So is that exact? I know that I've heard the Marcellus is in New York State and Pennsylvania, but is it?
Horse-shaped formation all around the northeast of
Do you know this for a fact?
I've seen the picture of it.
Who does know? Does anyone know?
Well, that's not New Brunswick. That's New York.
Well, that's what I thought.
Ma'am, are you talking mostly in New Brunswick?
New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Okay, I can tell you where that is. You know, we are just now entering our second year of exploration and research. We have not drilled a well. We won't drill until next year. Excuse me. The discovery well that was drilled by Corridor a 3 years ago is down near Elgin, and it was a very good test. Okay, the 2 wells that Apache drilled and completed have questionable results. I think that, and I don't know what they're going to do or say, probably within a week. Now, the area that we have licensed to search is highly speculative, very high risk exploration that will find anything whatsoever. The reality of it is that once we finish our commitment to the province in 3 years, even if we think some parts of that, now you look at that map up there and you see all that acreage, I guarantee you not all of that's going to be productive. There's just no way. No way. So if there are parts of it that are large enough to make it worthwhile, then you enter into another 3 years of doing some more exploration. But clearly we'd be 4 years, 5 years from any major development activity of any sort whatsoever. Now, do we know something is there? No, there's not really been any exploration in those lands. No wells drilled exploring for oil and gas in the licensed areas where we are. Something you may not know is that 1859 oil was discovered in this province. Some argue that it was the first discovery of oil in North America. And really, well over 300 oil and gas wells have been drilled in this province over time. And actually, since 1990, some 80 wells have been drilled, and 49 of those have been fracked since 1990. There's been no water well problems, no water table problems, nothing whatsoever. It's gone.
But since 2004 is when they actually developed the extended horizontal drilling.
No, it's been
process.
going on quite a bit.
They did a little bit of horizontal drilling, but they couldn't go in, pull the bit out, and do that multiple.
Obviously, something's changed in recent years for all this big commotion to be going on in the public scene.
Yes.
There's not enough uprise because there's nothing going on.
Can I
Yes, let's give this guy the
put my 2 cents in it? Must be nice to be able to scrutinize when we can't scrutinize when you're sitting down in government. Just wanted to put that in there. I'll tell you what, I don't say I know everything, which I don't. But I'll tell you what, I worked in the industry for 7 years. I worked in BC, I worked in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Louisiana. Okay, so I have had some hands-on. Okay, that's something I don't think you have. Now, my problem with regulation is that there's things while you're drilling, or you're doing some seismic testing, or some fracking that you cannot control with regulation. Okay, when you're exerting a pressure on a soil formation, there's no guarantee that how it's going to react. Okay. I see myself where we're drilling down, we're at 50 meters, and all of a sudden it goes sideways on us, okay? Because when we drill, okay, that's my expertise, is drilling.